Try It Out Loud, a podcast by Chasing the Rainbows with your host, Bernice Quisenberry.
This week's podcast episode is called Awareness Out Loud, and it's with India Baxton, and we cannot thank her enough for being on our podcast today. She is a social media influencer, also a fellow baby loss survivor, but her voice is being heard in national news and on socials all around our nation. So we can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your story, India. Thank you.
I'm so excited to be here, Bernice. Thank you for having me. It's a genuine honor. I love everything you guys are doing. Just everything. It's so important. It's such important work. And I'm just excited to be a tiny, tiny part of what you're doing.
Yeah, well, it means so much to have you. And, you know, just for our listeners out there, oh my goodness. So I actually started following you based on, and we can get into this, you know, later and things, but I think it was a People magazine article. One fellow loss survivor who's a volunteer with us sent it over to me and said, look at this video. And I watched this one heartfelt video that you did, leaving your gyno after one of your losses and saying, you know, like there should be a separate waiting room. And I was like, yes. For many reasons, and we can get into that. But, you know, your voice, the way that you effectively communicate, it just helps, you know, to have people who are open and honest about their journey, you know, to really like put it out there to help others to know how to support us, but then also to put a voice behind this.
Yeah. Thank you. That's very, very kind. And that video took on a life of its own. And it's been really, really incredible to see the overwhelming response. It's been resoundingly positive, truly. Of course, there's some negativity, but the majority has just been an army of incredible women, and it's been great.
It really is. And it is that community, you know, this isn't a community you ever want to be a part of, but then once you're here, you know, it is really like we're trying, you know, to unite all of us and to get us all together to, you know, give us just a place to process and have a safe place to be able to voice our opinions and, you know, just talk through it all. So you're so spot on.
Well, you guys do a fantastic job. So thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Well, India, for our listeners, please share, you know, your story, who you are, about yourself, you know, whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hi, my name is India. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm a content creator full-time. I started my YouTube channel in my dorm room my senior year of college, and long before it was viewed as a career. Let's see, this was 2017. And I feel very lucky and grateful and honored to do what I do and to still be doing it. And it's such a blessing and so fun. And my husband, who I met also my senior year of college, he works in the recovery industry, and he owns a treatment center for people with addiction. And we met on a blind date. So I always tell people, go on a blind date. Like, just give it a try. You never know.
Yeah.
You just might meet your husband.
How about that?
Yeah. And also, truly, the first date wasn't great. You know, we won't go too much into it. So also my second then recommendation is give it a second date.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
Let him grow on you. Let him grow on you a little.
You might not be their best selves on a blind date. Right. I get that.
Yes. You gotta, you know, he's lucky he was cute. He got a second shot, but
let it marinate a little bit.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, so we got married in 2020, which is a whole other story for another day. What a year to get married. And,
oh my gosh. So we got married in 2019, right before the pandemic hit in August. And I'm telling you, I was like, in your first year of marriage, if you ever want to try it out, like get married during a pandemic when you're in shutdown.
That'll test you, baby girl. That'll test you. That'll put you through the ringer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. But so we got married in 2020, and then we said that we would give ourselves 2 years of just enjoying marriage, just the two of us, and neither one of us was allowed to bring up babies. We weren't allowed to talk about babies. We were just going to do just us and like really get a strong foundation of marriage. It was my first time living with anyone. We didn't live together before marriage. So it was truly like, it was all new. It was a lot to learn. Yeah. And so then 2 years came and went. And I remember us like having the conversation, and we both agreed that we still weren't ready. And luckily we were on the same page. And this was in 2022. And we were like, we're getting closer, but we're still not there.
Yeah.
And then on Mother's Day, 2023, my husband came to me. We were sitting in a dog park, and
wow,
he was like, "It's time." And I was like, "Is it time?" And he was like, "Are we there?" And I probably still wasn't quite ready. I needed a few more months to once again marinate. We're seeing a common thread here. I'm a marinator. But yeah. And so we then, I guess I just decided that you're never really quite fully ready. And maybe some people are, but for me, I wasn't maybe quite fully ready. I mean, I don't know who's ever quite fully ready to create a human and raise them and all the things. And I had a lot of fears surrounding it. And my mom had been through, pregnancy losses as well. So I just had a lot of fears surrounding being pregnant in general. But we decided we were going to take the jump and take the leap. And we started trying in the fall of 2023. And it has been quite a journry. If you want me to kind of go into it. Okay.
Yeah. What's been going on. And yeah, and then this is, when we've connected, India, and thanks for doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. So excited. Okay. So in September, I had a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. So I did not realize that I was pregnant, which was quite a journey and an experience. It's a long story, but I found out in the emergency room that I had a ruptured ectopic pregnancy.
Wow. Yeah.
So they told me I was pregnant in the ER, and I was just, no, Shirley, no, I'm not.
I would have known that. Yeah.
No, exactly. I had no idea. And it was quite a day. So there was a couple different possibilities of what they thought I could have. At first, they thought I might have like a tubal twist and I would still go on to have a happy, healthy pregnancy. Then they said, maybe it's a ruptured ectopic. Maybe it's an ectopic that hasn't ruptured yet. So maybe we could still save the tube. There was a lot of things in the air. So we kind of went into surgery with a lot of unknowns of what would happen when I would wake up. But I did wake up to find out that they removed my left fallopian tube. And so I did have a ruptured ectopic and a lot of internal bleeding, and it ruptured, and it was a whole thing. But we survived it. We're here to tell the story.
Right.
And then we got pregnant again in January of this year. And that was just the greatest. Of course, after a loss, it's so scary because you're thinking this could happen again. Yeah. But then you're also like, oh my gosh, like this is my chance. Like this is happening. So I had a lot of fears, but I also had a lot of hope. And then I went in for, it was like, I think it was 9 weeks. And they said that the baby had basically just stopped growing. So I had a miscarriage, which was interesting and something I didn't personally know about. Miscarriage, as you know, is something a lot of people don't readily speak about. And so I always pictured a miscarriage as something you would know. It would happen in your home. And I didn't have any inkling that I would go into I'd already heard the heartbeat at, I think it was 6.5 weeks. And then when we went in at 9, there wasn't the heartbeat anymore. And so, but I didn't know. I had no idea. She's like, you had a miscarriage. And I'm just, what is a miscarriage? I didn't know.
Right.
So yeah, I ended up getting a DNC surgery for that. My body was unfortunately just really holding on to the pregnancy, and it just wasn't passing on its own. So we decided to do a DNC, and we have just gotten cleared to begin trying again. And last month was our first attempt. It didn't happen, and we're gonna keep pushing on, sister.
Yeah. Keep pushing on. Right, India. Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for sharing your heartbreak with us, and all that you've been on so far in your journey and everything. And it's interesting, like miscarriages now becoming part of the loss community, hearing about all different things that can happen is like, it's good to know, because then we can educate to advocate for ourselves, right? But then also it's like finding out these things, like who would ever known what a miscarriage is, and you don't until, either you've been through it or part of this community.
Right.
And it's horrifying. And because especially like with social media and other things, like you keep seeing people like trying to conceive and getting pregnant and, this, and sometimes it can be so lonely and isolating, all those feelings around it.
Yeah, very much so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge part of why your work is so important, to speak about it and to normalize it, because it's happening. It's happening to so many of my friends. So many of my friends I didn't even realize had miscarriage. They'd never shared it with me. Yeah. And then when I shared about my story, they said, oh, that happened to us too. And
I know.
I had no idea how prevalent it is, because I think, for so many reasons, but I think there's a lot of shame surrounding it, where people feel as though it's their fault. And so they feel shame in that. Society can just, it's stigmatized in a weird way.
And it's the only kind of loss, that someone says to you, you can always have another baby, almost like it's a replacement instead of an addition to. And because no one says that around, parent loss or grandparent loss or anything like that. It really is. It's like when those insensitivities come out. And I think that's what makes it, hard to share. And you're right. Like that, like guilt, shame, and blame, that whole game right there. Like, that was just my mental state, like a revolving door with this trauma or traumatic losses. And it fuels them. So like, you're thinking like, my body failed me. And the one thing that, we're supposed to be able to do in society and things and how it's looked at, when realistically, the 1 in 4 statistic to me isn't very comforting, because it's like so many people are going through this. But it can be in the fact that like, I know I'm not alone in this journey, and like people come out of the woodwork and they're like, us too. And I'm like, oh my goodness, just wish, there was more people doing what you're doing. Yeah. And putting that voice behind it.
Well, it's so important. And thank you for sharing your story and your heartbreak.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, India. Yeah. I feel like that's how us fellow loss survivors like continue, is knowing that by doing what we're doing is going to help those others to not feel, how we felt at one point or another.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, like what were some things that like you didn't expect to happen, after, you experienced now losing your babies?
Yeah. I think truly from sharing on social media across platforms, I really didn't expect to be surrounded by this truly like incredible army of women who, of course, everyone's experience is different. Everyone's trauma is different, but they've been in my shoes in some shape or form. And just like rally behind you. So many people across this country, like praying for our time to come and just cheering us on, because they know what it's like. They've been there. They're still waiting for their day, or maybe their day has come. And I don't know, I feel like it just creates this beautiful community, like you said earlier, that you don't want to be a part of. I would rather not be in this community.
Yes. That's right.
but I'm here and I am grateful for it. Because truly, like, women are so much stronger when we're together and when we surround each other with love and uplift each other and cheer each other on. And like,
I know.
It's just powerful when we can be excited for each other when our time comes. Like when some of my friends one of my friends had back-to-back losses and she's currently pregnant. And I'm like, oh, you go, girl. Like, I'm just cheering her on. Like, yes. Like, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, she will be so excited for me, God willing, when my time comes, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful and exciting to watch her. And, you know, I'm just, it's a powerful community and space.
It really is. And like when we, especially right after, our loss and everything and experiencing it, it was really hard almost to be excited for those who like can have like blissful pregnancies and go on. Not that I wasn't excited for them, but I was like struggling knowing that, we were struggling with secondary infertility and trying to get pregnant and, all those things. And then, going through our loss but then hearing someone in our loss community that would get pregnant and like that would give me that hope almost. And it made me genuinely happy for them.
Absolutely.
I know it's like a whole different thing. It's hard to explain, right?
It's the best. It's so exciting and wonderful. Like, you're just like, oh, like hopefully that'll be me one day, but like, it's her right now. It's her time to shine. And I'm so excited for her. And I know that these people will be so excited for me when that happens to me. And so we all got to rally together.
That's right. Oh my goodness. And trying to conceive, that was really hard on my husband and I, because we were in it for about 2.5 years and it was, it was just like a lot, on us and everything. And, I think that's, it's something that like, it was really hard to continue to like track everything. And I did need that community of people, I needed, others who were going through this to also make me feel a sense of normal that, I'm not the only one that's dealing with this or has had, issues with conceiving and all of that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So, like what has like sharing your story out in the open outside of like having the community come behind you and everything like that, what has it like done for you, like in regards to like other things and how you're feeling and everything?
Yeah. Well, that one post that really took on some speed, on TikTok was interesting. It was an interesting journey. It was, trying to think back to that day. I was going into my OBGYN for a follow-up appointment to check and see my HCG levels and basically to watch them come down. And I think it was my first time going in to do that. And it hit me in a way that I wasn't expecting and I wasn't mentally prepared for a multitude of reasons. One, you're sitting in a waiting room next to pregnant women. You're waiting next to them and you're remembering that was you the week before. That was me the week before, sitting there looking at my picture. What's it called? A sonograph?
Sonogram.
I was looking at it and that was me. And then now just a week later, my reality is completely different. You get called back, you walk past the room that you were in getting your sonograms in, and you walk past the room where they told you that your baby was no longer viable. And then you get your blood drawn to watch your hormone levels go away and and know that that's not your baby. But in a sense, to me mentally, for some reason, it very much so felt like slowly watching my baby go away. And it was just like a very emotional day.
Yes.
And I had no idea. I was just thinking, oh, I'm just going to go in and get blood work. I don't know. For some reason, it didn't connect to me that it would be like this emotional flood.
Yeah.
And grief is like that. It's interesting. You'll be totally fine. And then 5 minutes later, you're something reminds you of something and it's not, it's you're hysterical. So,
absolutely.
So that day was a lot. And I went to the parking lot and I sat in my car crying and I was like, I'm going to I'm going to share about this. And just kind of went off. And I was like, we have got to do better. Like, we need trauma-informed care. Like, what on God's green earth is going on out here?
Oh my gosh, India. Yes, preach. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I left that office, like, there was no pamphlet. There was not, when I left the hospital, it was just like, okay, well, good luck trying again. There was no like, you know, and what you do, there was no, here's a list of, you know, maybe mentors that have been through this or a therapy group that you could enter. Like, there was none of that. It was just on your way.
That's the luck. Yeah.
Right. And so I shared that, and it really overnight, it got like 2 million views and just kept climbing. I posted on Instagram as well, and it took off there too. And I proceeded to be interviewed by Good Morning America, People Magazine, Fox, I think, just everywhere. And it was great to be heard and seen and valued and not viewed as hysterical. For people to really understand that this is a need. And I did learn through this that this does happen some places. There are trauma-informed care like options available in this space. Just certain offices choose to implement it and don't. And so there is a way to do it. And I learned as well that it doesn't even necessarily have to be separate offices. I had someone share that they have at their OBGYN office, they see patients who are trying to get pregnant or have experienced loss in the mornings. They see pregnant patients in the afternoons, or they have these patients on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. There's a myriad of ways that we can implement trauma-informed care.
Yes.
It doesn't even really have to be expensive or difficult, you know?
No, they can find easy solutions. Exactly.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't even need to be like, because I know it's like, do you do separate entrances? Do you have a separate room? Do you have, you know, all these stuff? But it could just be something like a change of schedule. And
there's because every office is different, you know, maybe there aren't 2 doors, and maybe that's not maybe that's not feasible.
Not
okay.
option.
Well then, well, we don't just stop there. We continue to look for a solution.
Yes. No, it's so true.
And there are solutions.
Yes. And trauma-informed care. So like all of our volunteers, you know, who do this, all the support services, like our daily support groups, mentors, all that, like they go through trauma-informed training because these are all traumatic losses. And it's like, it's about, you know, because each, like you said, each individual is so different in what they need and, you know, and their journey and how they handle things. So it's just like having a generalized idea, like how can we do better by watching like how we say certain things, like when a doctor comes in and they're like, oh, well, you can try again, meaning that you're medically okay to be able to try again and you're cleared. Right after your loss, though, that might not be the time to say that, you know, to certain people and things like that. And, you know, and so it is all of that and just being mindful, you know, and and just looking at each individual, but it's true. And thank you so much for just like sharing about that, because I mean, that sparked a chord with our volunteers, with me, because it's true. We all experience that. I actually had to change doctors because I couldn't go back to the same doctor who delivered our daughter that we lost. And I couldn't go back into the same hospital system. It was, you know, because you're going right back into exactly where you had your loss. And it's
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
No, absolutely, India. No. And thank you. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, for getting on, you know, all those national news feeds and doing it, because, you know, and it really does help. Like when we shared about your story too on our social pages, it was more because like this will help the OBs then not lose clients.
Totally.
You know, by giving that extra level of care. This might be your 10th loss of the day, but this is your client's 1 loss, you know?
Yes.
So just 1 extra mile.
That's such a great point. And I do feel for them in the sense that they do see this often. And I would imagine you would have to have a sense of like separating to not take on those emotions if you're like an empath, or, you know, I would imagine that. But in the same breath, there has to be
better. No, really. I mean, that at the end of it, it's like we just have to do better. Like stuffing it and brushing it under the rug is not how our generation is doing things. And I love that because we're actually like advocating for ourselves and we're like doing something about our mental health. And we're not just like going home with the doctor saying, well, you can try again in 2 weeks, see ya, like kind of thing or whatever. It's like, no, like we need to start like rallying around each other, like talking about these traumatic losses and everything that we're experiencing with the grief and trauma responses. And it's true.
Yes. Yes. That's so well articulated. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, and thanks so much, like I said, for everything that you're doing. I hope our listeners out there will follow you because I mean, your story, just how you present, how you do, your social media reels and everything. It's just amazing. So I can't thank you enough for that.
That's very kind. I hope to continue sharing my journey on this fertility journey. And, we'll just keep taking it day by day. That's all you can do.
And sometimes it's step by step, minute by minute, hour by hour.
Right.
And I mean, we just got, you're just, thank you though. Thanks.
Of course.
Yeah, we can't say it enough. But well, thank you so much, listeners. Yeah, please give India a follow, check her out, check her story out. We appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to our podcast to help us reach as many fellow loss survivors as we can. We're always with you, fertility loss, pregnancy loss, and infant loss survivors. Until next time. Thanks again, India.
Thanks, guys.